Title: My Wife's Shocking Confession at the Doctor's Office. I was stunned. The living room was too quiet. The ticking of the grandfather clock a stark reminder of the emptiness left by Vesper and her mother, Maris, who'd been gone for a week on a trip to the coast. I'd spent the days alone, tending to the garden, the roses Vesper loved now wilting under my care, a metaphor for our marriage. When they returned, tanned and laughing, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this trip had softened her, brought us closer. But then they announced they were visiting a doctor, a routine checkup, they said. As her father, Thane, and I sat in the waiting room of the small clinic, we overheard something shocking that shattered my world. I'm Thane, a man who feels too deeply. Average build, soft-spoken, with a heart that breaks too easily. Vesper called me useless, her favorite jab, delivered with a sneer that made me feel small. I'd loved her since our first date at a local art fair. Her fiery ambition a spark I thought we'd share. Her career as a gallery owner a dream I supported with every late shift at the library. But that spark turned to ice, her ambition a wall I couldn't scale. Her late nights, her dismissive sneers, the way she'd brush off my concerns. They were signs I ignored, hoping love could fix us, until that moment in the clinic changed everything. We sat in the waiting room, Thane flipping through a magazine, his gruff silence a comfort I clung to. He'd always been kind, a contrast to Maris's sharp tongue, and I'd hoped this visit would ease the tension between Vesper and me. The door to the exam room opened, and I heard Vesper's voice, low but clear, as she spoke to Maris. It's confirmed. I'm pregnant, she said, her tone cold, matter of fact. But it's not Thane's. My breath caught, a knife in my gut, Thane's magazine falling to the floor with a thud, his face mirroring my shock. We'd overheard the truth, a betrayal I couldn't unhear. I wanted to storm in, to demand why, but my legs wouldn't move, tears I despised burning my eyes. Vesper's words, asterisk not Thane's asterisk, echoed, a public wound in the quiet clinic, her mother's silence a tacit approval. I thought of the past months, her distance, her late-night meetings, the way she'd flinch when I touched her. I'd found a man's scarf in her car, not mine, but she'd laughed it off, calling me paranoid. You're so needy, she'd said, and I'd believed her, thought I was the problem, until her confession to Maris exposed the truth, a dagger in my heart. Thane grabbed my arm, his voice low, urgent. Let's go, Thane, he said, pulling me toward the door, his support a lifeline in the storm. We stepped outside, the clinic's sterile air replaced by the crisp autumn breeze, the city's hum a distant drone. I didn't know, he said, his voice breaking, a father betrayed by his daughter's actions. I nodded, my throat tight, unable to speak, the weight of her infidelity a physical blow. I drove to Amos's place, my best friend who'd never trusted Vesper, my hands trembling on the wheel. His apartment, a cluttered loft above a bookstore, smelled of ink and coffee, a refuge from the chaos inside me. He opened the door, his face softening as he saw my tears. What happened, Thane? He asked, pulling me inside. I collapsed onto his couch, the words spilling out. The trip, the clinic, Vesper's confession, Thane's shock. Amos's jaw tightened, his usual humor gone. She's a snake, he said, handing me a coffee. You don't deserve this. I opened my notebook, a secret I'd kept since Vesper mocked my writing as childish, and wrote, I'm not her fool. The words felt fragile, but they sparked a resolve, a need to act, not just flee, while Vesper's betrayal echoed, her reaction to come a moment I'd face with a strength she'd never break. The bookstore's faint hum of pages turning below Amos's loft was a quiet backdrop to the storm raging inside me. Vesper's confession at the clinic. Asterisk it's confirmed. I'm pregnant, but it's not Thane's asterisk, a dagger that kept twisting, her betrayal a wound I couldn't unhear. Thane's shocked face, his magazine hitting the floor, mirrored my own devastation, and though we'd fled the clinic together, the autumn air outside had done little to cool the fire in my chest. I'd sat on Amos's couch, my notebook open to the words, asterisk I'm not her fool asterisk, a fragile spark of defiance in the chaos of her infidelity, and I knew I had to act, not just crumble. Amos handed me a fresh coffee, his eyes sharp with concern as he sat across from me, the morning light filtering through his cluttered loft. You can't let her do this, Thane, he said, his voice firm, his role in my journey a steady anchor. She's been playing you for months. His words were a jolt, the truth I'd dodged now unavoidable. I'd ignored the signs, her late nights, the scarf, her sneers, because I'd loved her, believed her when she called me useless. But her confession, her mother's silence, was a line I couldn't unsee. I'm done, I said, my voice trembling but resolute, a defiance I'd never shown Vesper before. I called Mara, my coworker at the library who'd always seen through Vesper's facade, her voice a lifeline over the phone. I overheard Vesper at the clinic. I said, my voice cracking. She's pregnant, it's not mine. Mara's tone was fierce, protective. Come to the library, Thane. We'll figure this out. Her support, like Amos's, was a spark of courage, pushing me to act, not just flee. I drove over, the city's morning bustle a blur, my heart pounding with a mix of pain and determination, my notebook clutched tight, the words a mantra I held on to, a fire growing within me. Mara was waiting in the library's archive room, her warm smile a contrast to the storm inside me as she pulled me into a corner. Tell me everything, she said, her eyes sharp with determination. I spilled it all. The trip, the clinic, Vesper's confession, Torrent's shock. Mara's face hardened, her role in my fight a beacon of strength. We'll make her pay, she said, pulling out her phone. She called Elsie, a lawyer friend, putting her on speaker. He's got grounds for divorce and paternity fraud, Elsie said, her voice crisp. We can dig deeper, Thane. I nodded, my resolve strengthening, and wrote. Her lies won't bury me. The words fueled me, a declaration of my fight. I needed more evidence, a step toward agency I'd never taken with Vesper. I drove to Torrent's house, where Vesper and Maris were staying, my heart pounding as I knocked. Torrent opened the door, his face grim, his support a quiet comfort. They're in the kitchen, he said, his voice low. I'm with you, Thane. We stepped inside, the air thick with tension, and I saw Vesper at the table, her face pale, Maris beside her, her eyes cold. We heard you at the clinic, I said, my voice steady, the external conflict a battlefield I was ready for. I know about the baby, Vesper. It's not mine. Her eyes widened, a flash of panic, a glimpse of the Vesper who'd feared failure, now caught in her own web. You don't understand, she stammered, her voice trembling, but Maris cut in, her tone sharp. You're overreacting, Thane, she snapped, her defense of Vesper a betrayal in itself. I didn't back down. I'm done, I said, turning to leave, Torrent following, Vesper's voice trailing. Asterisk Thane, wait asterisk. But I didn't look back, the confrontation of victory, her stunned silence a prelude to her defeat. I drove back to Amos's, writing. I'm not their pawn. The pain of her betrayal, her confession, still lingered, but I was moving forward, supported by Amos, Mara, Torrent, and Elsie, their roles in my journey a foundation I'd built on, ready to fight, while Vesper faced the wreckage of her choices alone. The autumn leaves crunched under my tires as I drove away from Torrent's house. Vesper's desperate plea. Asterisk Thane, wait asterisk, a fading echo in my mind. Her stunned silence after I confronted her about the baby not being mine a crack in her icy facade. Maris's cold defense. Asterisk you're overreacting asterisk. Had been a betrayal in itself, but Torrent's grim support, his presence at my side, had given me strength to walk away. I'd overheard their shocking confession at the clinic. Asterisk it's confirmed. I'm pregnant, but it's not Thane's asterisk. And now, with the fire of that truth burning in me, I was ready to dismantle her lies. No longer the Thane she'd mocked as useless. Back at Amos's loft, the scent of old books and coffee from the bookstore below was a quiet comfort as I sat on his couch, my notebook open to the words. Asterisk I'm not their pawn asterisk. A steady mantra against the storm of Vesper's infidelity. Amos handed me a fresh coffee, his eyes sharp with concern. You faced her head-on, Thane, he said, his voice steady, his role in my journey a constant anchor. What's next? His question was a push, his support a foundation I leaned on. I nodded, my resolve unyielding. I'm taking her down, I said, my voice firm, a defiance I'd never shown Vesper before. I called Mara, her fierce voice a lifeline over the phone. We need more evidence, Thane, she said, her role in my fight a beacon of strength. Meet me at the library, Elsie's here. I drove over, the city's midday bustle a blur, my heart pounding with a mix of pain and determination. At the library, Mara and Elsie were waiting in the archive room, their faces set with purpose. Elsie handed me a file, her tone sharp with a twist. Vesper's been siphoning gallery funds to a secret account with Kale, she said, a revelation that hit like a punch. The baby's father, he's been in on it, helping her hide the profits. My breath caught, the depth of her deceit a fresh wound, but it fueled my fight. I decided to confront Kale, to break their alliance, an external conflict I was ready to tackle. Thane offered to come, his loyalty a quiet comfort. We drove to Kale's office, a sleek space near the gallery, my heart pounding as I knocked. He opened the door, his smirk faltering as he saw me with Thane, the file in my hand. I know about the account, Kale, I said, my voice steady, cutting through his arrogance. And the baby. His face paled, a flicker of fear in his eyes, a glimpse of the man who'd hidden behind Vesper's control. She made me, he stammered, his voice breaking, a confession I hadn't expected. She said you'd never find out. His betrayal of her was a crack, their united front crumbling. I left, the confrontation of victory, Kale's words a weapon Elsie could use. Back at Amos's, I wrote, I'm not their shadow. The pain of Vesper's confession, her affair with Kale, still stung, but I was moving forward. Mara called, her voice urgent. Kale's testifying against Vesper, she said. He's turning on her to save himself. Court date next week. The twist solidified my path, Vesper's world unraveling faster than I'd imagined, her stunned silence at the clinic now a prelude to her defeat. Amos grinned, his hand on my shoulder. You're winning, Thane, he said, his support a warmth I clung to, his role in my journey a constant. I wasn't done. The writing group Mara had suggested became a new goal, a place to share my words, to heal through creation. Thane texted, I'm proud of you, son. His words, a father's loyalty despite his daughter's betrayal, were a balm. Vesper's confession at the clinic, her affair with Kale, had been her undoing, and I'd walked away, fought back, with Amos, Mara, Thane, and Elsie by my side. As the city's pulse hummed outside, I knew the next step was coming, a way to rise, to create. While Vesper faced the wreckage of her choices alone, her reaction to the truth a moment I'd outgrow. The city's afternoon shadows stretched long across the streets as I drove from Thane's house. Vesper's desperate plea. Thane. Wait, a hollow echo in my mind. Her stunned silence after I confronted her about the pregnancy a crack in her icy control. Maris's sharp defense. You're overreacting, had been a betrayal in itself, but Thane's steadfast support, his grim presence at my side, had given me the strength to walk away. I'd overheard their shocking confession at the clinic. It's confirmed. I'm pregnant, but it's not Thane's . And now, with Kale's testimony exposing her financial deceit through the gallery, I was ready to dismantle her lies, no longer the Thane she'd mocked as useless. At Amos's loft, the scent of old books and coffee from the bookstore below grounded me as I sat on his couch, my notebook open to the words, I'm not their pawn, a steady mantra against the storm of Vesper's infidelity. Amos handed me a mug of tea, his eyes sharp with concern. You're doing the right thing, Thane, he said, his voice steady, his role in my journey a constant anchor. What's your next move? His question was a push, his support a foundation I leaned on. I nodded, my resolve firm. I'm taking her down completely, I said, my voice steady, a defiance I'd never shown Vesper before. Mara called, her voice urgent as I answered. We've got a twist, Thane, she said, her role in my fight a fierce beacon. Vesper tried to transfer the gallery's remaining assets to Maris to avoid the audit, but Elsie caught it. She's frozen everything. My breath caught, the depth of her desperation a shock, her fear at Thane's house now a prelude to her latest scheme. She's at the gallery with her lawyer, Mara added. She's panicking, Thane. Be ready. I nodded, the stakes higher, my determination unshakable, ready to face her one last time. Thane insisted on coming with me, his quiet support a comfort as we drove to the gallery, its glass facade reflecting the fading sunlight, a hollow shell of Vesper's ambition. Inside, she stood with her lawyer, her face pale, her eyes red, a flicker of the woman who'd feared failure, now living it amidst half-packed crates of her sculptures. "Thane," she said, her voice trembling as she saw me, no trace of her sneer. I didn't want this. I was trying to save the gallery." Her words were soft, a glimpse of vulnerability, but I saw the manipulation beneath, her hands clutching a crate, her lawyer's sharp gaze, hoping to pull me back into her web. "You tried to pin the debts on me," I said, my voice steady, cutting through her lies, the external conflict a battlefield I was ready for. "You betrayed me, Vesper, in every way, your affair, the baby, the gallery." Her face crumpled, tears spilling, and for a moment, I thought she'd break, but her lawyer stepped in, his tone sharp. "We can settle this out of court," he said, but Torrin's voice cut through, his loyalty to me unwavering. "Not a chance," he growled, his role in my fight a quiet strength. I turned to leave, Vesper's voice trailing. Thane, "I'm sorry, but I didn't look back." The confrontation of victory, her stunned silence at the clinic now a prelude to her defeat. I drove to the library, my notebook open, writing, "I'm free to grow." The pain of her confession, her affair with Kale, still lingered, but I was moving forward. Mara met me there, her hug fierce. "Court's tomorrow, Thane," she said, her role in my journey a constant warmth. "You've got this." Amos texted, "Proud of you, man. Let's finish this." Torrin called, his voice soft. "You're stronger than she'll ever know," he said, a father's pride despite his daughter's betrayal. The court hearing loomed, a final battle to seal my freedom, but I was ready, armed with evidence, resolve, and a fire within, supported by Amos, Mara, Torrin, and Elsie. Vesper's betrayal at the clinic had been her undoing, and I'd walked away, fought back, ready to forge a new path while she faced the wreckage of her choices alone, her reaction a memory I'd outgrow. The courtroom's echo faded as the judge's ruling landed, granting me the house and a substantial settlement from Vesper's gallery assets, her fraud charges and Kale's testimony ensuring her downfall. Her tearful apology at the gallery, "I'm sorry, Thane," was a distant memory, her world of deceit now in tatters, her stunned silence at the clinic when I confronted her a moment that had marked her defeat. I'd walked away, fought back, and now, Thane, the man she'd called useless, stood victorious, a fire she couldn't extinguish burning within me, ready to rebuild on my own terms. Elsie's final update came as I left the courthouse. "Vesper's been ordered to pay restitution and serve probation," she texted. "You're free, Thane." A last twist. Maris had tried to bail Vesper out by selling family heirlooms, but Torrin intervened, cutting ties with his wife and daughter to protect his own assets, a move that left Vesper isolated, her fear at the gallery a glimpse of the woman who'd lost everything, her empire gone, Kale out of her life. I didn't linger on her pain. My focus was on the life I was crafting, one she couldn't touch, a new chapter born from the ashes of her betrayal. I returned to the house, its silence now a canvas for renewal rather than a reminder of her absence. The garden, where I'd tended the roses during her trip, became my sanctuary. I cleared the wilted blooms, replanted with hardy daisies, and built a small bench under the oak tree, a place to sit and think. Torrin came over often, his gruff kindness a comfort, our bond deepened by the shared betrayal we'd endured. "You're my son, Thane," he said one evening, handing me a beer as we sat on the bench, the daisies swaying in the breeze, his role in my journey a steadfast pillar, a father I'd gained despite losing a wife. I took up woodworking, a skill Torrin taught me, turning the garage into a workshop where I crafted small pieces, birdhouses, a table, a trellis for the garden. Each project was a step toward healing, a tangible reminder of my own strength, my hands steady where they'd once trembled with tears. Amos visited, his laughter filling the house, his support unwavering. "You're a new man, Thane," he said, admiring the trellis, his role in my journey a constant warmth. Mara stopped by with library books, her encouragement a quiet strength. "You've grown so much," she said, her role a beacon through my fight, their presence a foundation I'd rebuilt on. A symbolic act of closure came when I carved a small rose from oak, a nod to the garden I'd tended during Vesper's trip, and placed it on the bench with a simple inscription, "Root deep." I buried her wedding ring beneath the oak, letting the earth reclaim it, a gesture that felt like releasing the last of her hold on me, turning betrayal into growth. Vesper faded to a footnote, her probation a quiet end, Maris estranged, Kale long gone. I didn't care. My life was here, with Torin's shared silences, Amos's laughter, Mara's book recommendations, the garden blooming under my care. I started hosting small barbecues in the backyard, the scent of grilled food mingling with the daisy's fragrance, Torin manning the grill, Amos telling stories, Mara bringing her famous pie. Happiness wasn't loud. It was the clink of bottles, the rustle of leaves, the warmth of chosen family. Vesper's confession at the clinic, her affair with Kale, had been her undoing, and I'd walked away, fought back, with Amos, Mara, Torin, and Elsie by my side. The external conflict in court, the gallery confrontation, had been my stage to stand tall, and I'd won, not by her rules, but by growing. As I sat on the bench, Torin at my side, the carved rose under the oak, I knew I'd turned her betrayal into a new beginning, a life of roots, resilience, and peace, while Vesper faced the emptiness of her own making. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.